We are now live.
Very good. Well, I greet you. Are there any public on? No.
I'm sorry?
We would see them, right? Unless they're on telephone.
Let's see. There are a couple attendees.
Susan's on. I see a Nan Bryan.
Is
And
Susan on by telephone?
no, they're all on here, Ralph. And then there's Kelly Flanagan's also on. So there's three other attendees that are outside of the commission, like from the public.
Okay, I've got, let me just, why don't you take the roll, Jesse? Just to see who we've got.
Do you want to read the sunshine law first, or?
No, I just want to make sure we have 5 people. I'm
We do.
having
We're
a
good.
hard time seeing them. Okay, fine. Good. Well, we'll begin with the sunset law then. Call the meeting to order and have the sunset law. The public is on. Susan's on. Welcome, Susan, wherever you are. You're not on my screen. Okay. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person. Get a light over here. In person or by means of communication equipment, including streaming services and other online meeting platforms. Due to the COVID-19 situation, the Borough of Fairhaven municipal facilities are closed to the public. Meetings are being presented through the use of Zooming platform, and are being broadcast from the Borough Hall. In this case, I guess, is that true? I'm not sure. At any rate, they're open to the public. The public participation of December 2020 is available by calling the phone number on the web conference zone Zoom site. Meetings of the public will be muted until time for questions. Those are not the rules we follow here. We encourage the public to join in the discussion. It's always worked well. At this time, the public has the opportunity to make comments, and I will just comment to change that. Public has the opportunity to make comments all through the meeting. Notice of a meeting has been included in the schedule of meetings sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Hub, and the Star Ledger on January 30, 2020. They are positioned also on the website, the bulletin available at the municipal building, and they have been I'm trying to read it. They have been continuously displayed in the Borough Hall. With a notice being given, the Environmental Commission meeting is directed to include this statement in the meetings and in the minutes. Okay, it's not that I can't read, I just can't see. All righty, so let's move ahead then. I'm looking, I know you sent the minutes out, and I'm looking for where I put them.
I'll do the roll call first then.
Yeah, do that, do the roll call, and then we'll do the, go through the,
All right, so Ralph, Leilini,
Here.
myself, Brian Rice is absent, Pat Keeler,
Yep.
Gary Patterson.
Here.
Jonathan Peters, I believe is also absent. Greg Wright,
Here.
Sarah Bayer, I believe is also absent. And then Councilman Mike McHugh is also absent.
now,
So
we have a rule that you have to attend 60%, if I remember correctly, 60% of the meetings, or you can be asked to resign. And that's just to try to ensure that we have useful discussions and get a variety of views. Several people have been absent before this year. And while this is the last meeting of the year, we'll enforce this starting in January. And I do hope that you can all attend the meetings on a fairly regular basis, particularly since they're from home. Okay. The next thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The November meeting minutes. Do we have anybody who has not read them? They were circulated with the agenda. We have 5 people here. Do we have 5? Do we have votes in favor? How many are in favor of accepting them? Are there any objections? No objections that I see. Okay, they are accepted. They were quite well done, by the way. I did read them. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Brian with the stormwater. Never looked better than with a coat of snow on it near the land.
hey, Ralph, I think the first thing on the agenda we have is Sustainable New Jersey and the Green Team with Leilini.
Can you speak up a little?
The first item on the agenda is Sustainable New Jersey and the Green Team with Leilini.
Ah, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. I skipped that, didn't I? Yep, I did. Okay, so I'm wrong. Let's go back. The Sustainable Jersey Project and the Green Team. Time is getting closer. Our current certification is lost as of December of next year, 1 year from now. And our objective is to increase our standing to the next level, which I think is silver. So, Leilini, do you want to tell us where we are and what the plans are?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I'll give you an overview of what we discussed in the last Green Team meeting. I emailed you the last Green Team's agenda. If it's okay, I'm going to share my screen so I can go over some of the information we went through and share some of what our objectives are for this coming year. So give me one moment. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine.
So the last time the Green Team met was this December 8th. We've been meeting the second Tuesday of every month. And by the way, on the line, I have Kelly Flanagan, who is currently the vice chair of the Green Team. I hope that she can also be elevated to speak a few minutes as well and give some comments on what we're doing. But essentially, We went over sort of like what our objectives are for this coming year. Just to give people an idea of the deadlines for application next year. And this is based on this year's application on the website of the Sustainable Jersey. I know they changed the dates because of the pandemic. So I'm not sure exactly how the dates might change next year. It might be slightly off. But effectively, what we need to do is by mid-June, submit the first application proposal. And then we will hear back from Sustainable Jersey by July with some comments. Then we have the chance to resubmit in September, early September. They offer comments in October. And then you have a third chance to resubmit again with final changes in November. And then in December, they will let you know if you essentially passed.
When do you expect to make your final submission?
Well, ideally, we would have most of it done by June, and we should have very few actions remaining. And I'll walk you through why I think that that's going to be reasonably achieved by the green team. I mean, there's no, a lot of the actions, I think, as I've mentioned before, are essentially renewing from what we did before, just refreshing some of those actions. So the objective is we're going to have the June application with hopefully most of it completed already, if
That's
not
a good
all of
plan.
it, and then go back and forth with them until we finalized. And Ralph, I'll read it over for you so that you, because I know it'll be hard for you to read this.
Well, you don't
So-
have to read the whole thing. I brought quite a magnifying glass, so.
So essentially what we've separated this into three categories. First is, first of all, you need to get 150 points for bronze certification. You need to get 350 points for silver certification. Right now, we're gonna go for bronze and recertify as bronze. I think we feel that silver is probably a couple of years away for it. A few different reasons. The pandemic has slowed down what we can do. It has placed most members of the team under significant strain, personal strain with kids at home, families, and it's curtailed what we can do with the schools. I think we've tried to work with Norwood, but they've said they really don't have the ability to work with us right now. There's just too many quarantine days and uncertainty as when the kids are in, when the kids are out of school. It's not some things that we initiated, some projects we initiated with them, such as, for example, try to do a sustainability day in the school. They've said they can't do that right now because they don't even know if they'll have that school day. It's just too complicated. So
Okay,
it's
so
going to be pushed out to next year. So for many reasons, I think what we're gonna do is recertify as bronze. We need 150 points, and then assuming that the team can pick up steam next year and get a few more members, and then we'll again look into whether we want to go for silver certification, which will really be awesome. But the bottom line is that there are 4 actions that they don't expire. We already applied for them last time in 2018. The natural resource inventory, I think, is good for 10 years. The tree protection ordinance also doesn't expire. The bicycle and pedestrian audit and the bicycle and pedestrian plan, which always submitted, those are actions that still count. So we still have those points available. And then there's about 9 actions that we submitted last year. We got approval last year. We think most of them is just essentially refreshing. So for example, I need to prove there's an environmental commission. We need to prove there's a green team. So we need to submit those annual reports. We need to prove the community gardens still exist. So we have to go back and take those pictures again and show that we're still renting those plots and so on. So de facto, most of these actions, we feel that it's really refreshing of what's already on the website, retaking those pictures. Some of it we may have to work with Betty Ann to re-announce in town. For example, the prescription drug and safety program. We have to remind people in the community that there is a drop box for medication at the police station. We need to announce that. We need to show that we announced it and so on. Same thing with the grass cut it and leave it program. We need to re-announce that in the spring, make sure people know about it. So we've divided up those tasks among several of us. And then there are some actions that we've determined that we got points for them last time. We will not get points for them again. So we need to come up with a few things. And some of them are projects that we apply for credit, and Ralph might remember this, but we did not get the credit. For example, the smoke-free and tobacco-free public places. Ralph, you might remember you pursued
Yes.
the one.
I remember.
The reason, I forgot now, I think the reason we didn't get the points was because it was not announced on any of the papers, the local, the town magazine or something.
Yeah,
On
well,
our
it
newsletter.
also wasn't posted at the time in the
It
minutes.
was something small. It was not a big deal. It was, they accepted essentially what we had, but they said it wasn't announced. So, we can pick up on that. The digitizing public information action, we applied for that, but we didn't get it because the phone numbers of the members of all of Fairhaven's commissions and committees were not included in the website, or their full names and terms of expiration terms were not there. I think most of that has been since then fixed. If not, we can work with Betty Ann to essentially put that information on the website, on the town's website over the next 6 months. This should be an easy fix. There's one, adopt a complete streets policy. This, most people might have forgotten about this one, but it's one that Councilman Peters went back to the council and modified the language to get credit. And Sustainable Jersey still came back and said they were not satisfied. There were 2 more paragraphs or text languages that they wanted in that policy. And, essentially, I want to see if we can pass through the modified policy with the additional 2 paragraphs through council this year so that we essentially can meet those requirements. So, it's stuff like this, sort of pick up from where we left. There's a couple of things that I think we can get credit for. The installation of the 2 water stations should count in Fairhaven Fields, should count as an innovative community project. The reusable bag project that you might remember that the Green Team worked on in conjunction with Norwood earlier this year. We actually produced a reusable bag. I distributed among you, I think, or at least I showed it to you, the bags.
You did show it to us.
And we distributed for free to residents in front of Acme for a weekend. That should be, I hope, counted as another innovative community project. And right now, the Green Team is working on a backyard composting program that we want to try to initiate beginning in February, March. So all of this together, between the actions that already count, the actions that we have to renew from what we did before, and what I'm calling new actions, but is really picking up from what we've done before, from what we already have. They come out to about 195 points and we need 150. So I feel pretty good that we should be able to meet the requirements. We just have to stay on top of it. The vice chair of the Green Team, Kelly Flanagan, I'll have her speak in a moment, but to make further comments, but that's sort of what we are committed to. We have other things we want to do. We want to do a website. We want to work on a littering and waste campaign with the school, with the community. There are we want to do a parks cleanup, multiple things that we wanted to do this year, but unfortunately, we just felt like it was not feasible, just given the situation that we're living through. But we are looking to do those actions next year. They don't directly count as points for Sustainable Jersey, but we feel that they are important to really bring the word out of the Green Team and really make the Green Team known among the community, and hopefully have people participate in the things we're doing and get excited about it. One last item I wanted to mention, and I'll stop, is that the Green Team asked whether I could bring the issue to the Environmental Commission as to whether, we could make a motion to ask the council to consider the installation of solar panel in the new Borough buildings that we are looking to construct, whether the police department, the DPW, and if we get to, essentially do some kind of renovation of the Borough Hall, whatever these plans might be, There was a question asked, why are we not asking how the council is incorporating green building practices into what they might be doing? Maybe they are already. I think there are some practices that are already being built into the architectural plans.
There are.
Like, can we look into, I'm not saying do it, but at least research and look into the possibility of installing solar panels into these new construction buildings? Since we are in a very unique position with a town that will have new buildings constructed by the borough fairly soon. So, looking out to the future, that can provide energy security and possibly energy savings, and possibly, should likely, be something that we should look at. So I wanted to ask the Environmental Commission to consider this request by the Green Team. I'm recommending that maybe we'll do a motion to request that the council does this.
I would, Lalini, I would entertain the motion, if it is worded along these lines, that the Environmental Council would like to see the use of solar panels prodigiously in the buildings, particularly a DPW building. It's perfectly situated for it.
Absolutely, it's in a perfect location. The roof,
The roof is facing.
you can build the roof flat or slightly slanting at 15 degrees. It wouldn't be very visible by others if you install the panels. Same thing with Borough Hall, is perfect location if we ever renovate that building. I think just in terms of principles, the police station also has possibly the ability for that. I think it will have to be looked at.
Well,
But at least we should have the architects, be thinking about that.
Well, the town does not have a plan yet for the police station, really.
There is essentially a drawing, but I think there is still time for as the architects consider those drawings to incorporate that, because I think you have to say you would like to have that incorporated in the drawing, such that if we ever do have the solar panels, to decide that we would like to have those solar panels, we have the right roof, we have the right support underneath the roof, such that those solar panels could be installed in the future.
Right, well, okay, I think if you will word the motion along the lines that the FHEC requests that the council consider the possibility of having solar panels and try to design the buildings to accommodate them in the most efficient way. That would be the motion I would be very pleased to see taken to the council.
And before we do that, may I ask whether Jennifer Johnson could elevate Kelly Flanagan so she can say a word about that, because she was one of the ones pushing for this. And it would be great to have if the Environmental Commission could hear directly from her.
Yeah, if you can, Jennifer, we would like to have her as a speaker.
Sure, I'm bringing her over right now.
Okay, and who is the other person, Susan? Oh, okay.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me join.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what came up in the Green Team meeting last week. As Alini mentioned, we were thinking also too about this application process that's coming up shortly in the beginning of the summer for reapplying for our certification. And we were thinking about not only the actions that we need to get to reach what we already have achieved, the bronze certification, but how we might be able to elevate that to a silver. And again, as Green Team, our goal fundamentally underlying is to try to get this certification through Sustainable Jersey, but moreover, we're trying to have more of an environmental friendly and sustainable impact in town. And so especially with a lot of talk about new buildings and building plans, recently I saw the proposal for the DPW and a proposal for the rec center and the police station. And the whole conversation kept going back to, well, what are the elements of green design? Are these even being considered? And how does that align to some of these actions that we can also get points for from Sustainable Jersey? And so looking at the application, there's a couple things that come to mind. One thing that, and I know this has even come up in some of the previous environmental committee meetings I've been to, is having this idea of a green development checklist. You can actually get points for this, 10 points for enabling an ordinance. It doesn't have to be a mandatory ordinance, but some ordinance that you give a checklist to any new building or new construction for a site plan. This can be done through zoning, et cetera, just to get the conversation started. I know people, previously had talked about with all this new construction, what's the environmental impact in town? And this could be submitted with the site plan application to try to, come up again with it. It's not binding or mandatory in any fashion, but just to get this conversation growing. How are you going to, protect natural resources, or what kind of energy use and efficiency are you going to do? Is there any elements of green design? And this can be included for municipal buildings as well. So maybe that's something, a checklist to the town. Perhaps we can agree on something where with any kind of new buildings, municipality or any type of residential or commercial buildings could have that.
Kelly, are you working with an architect at all in what you're doing? I think it might be helpful if you could.
No,
Green team.
the
This is
Sustainable
just
Jersey
a proposal.
The Sustainable Jersey has on its website for this action that Kelly is mentioning, they actually have a set of questions that are pre-made with regards to green design. And the suggestion is that those questions be incorporated, or some modified version of it be incorporated into construction permits, so that if someone is looking to make a change to their home or so, those questions are part of the process. So it's not going to be binding in the sense that someone is not going to get their permit because of the way they answer the question, but it essentially forces people to think through some of these green design elements. And I think it's something that to be thought about. And Kelly, I just wanted to mention to you that I have mentioned this particular item that you have just mentioned to Todd Leader, who is the chairman of the zoning board, in terms of asking, I think there might be some changes or consideration for changes in zoning to actually simplify the process and so on, and things that we think that maybe might bring us to a better place as far as zoning is concerned, zoning issues in town. This is an element we should be talking about if we do implement in the zoning changes. So, but I think it's still valid to ask council to consider, as we're proposing this new buildings and working with architects in town, for these construction projects. And we're asking these questions: can we do some of these elements maybe at the same cost that we would do with a traditional construction, but thinking through them, we might be able to incorporate some of these elements into what's being done.
Now, the interface, Lalini and Kelly, the interface with the people who are building houses, builders and their clients, is the construction officials in town. People work with Nick, and so in general, these new houses do not require zoning changes. They don't require variances. And certainly they'll rarely get up to the planning board. So I think that we have to have a mechanism by which we work with the construction people in Borough Hall and make sure that they understand, and we understand their issues and they understand each of these issues, because they're going to defend them and to use them to inquire of the construction applicants. So that's just one point where you're going to be able to introduce this.
Sure. And this is just, kind of simultaneously as we, trying to figure out if, and make this proposal for introducing to council for any type of municipal projects moving forward to include or consider the use of any green design or solar panels. And maybe this checklist might be a good way to start. But then the project for Sustainable Jersey that we were also talking, that Lalini had mentioned, was for getting on-site solar systems for any municipal buildings, and that can earn you 10 to 30 points. This would include installing PV solar system and or a solar thermal heating system for a building. You know, they even have an example like Bradley Beach did that on their rec center in 2008. They did it on their DPW in 2009 and their new DPW in 2014. And not only does it save energy, but it's also a great education and, you know, awareness to town as well, just to spread that about. And there's plenty of solar panels that you see too around town, and there's tons of subsidies, and there might even be some grants that we can look into as well to help offset the cost. So that's just another, you know, that's a project for these solar systems, and we can present something like this, you know, to town and to the council. And, you know, but the idea is, let's get this conversation going before we're past that planning process. Furthermore, another action from Sustainable Jersey that I think fits right in line here is just, what is our energy efficiency for existing municipal facilities? And you can earn up to 50 points for doing audits, anywhere from one municipal building to all of them. And then if you can show at least a 10% savings in energy efficiency, you know, and up, there's a whole scale, you could get anywhere from 5 points to 50 points. And this is a priority for Sustainable Jersey, because obviously with some of these old outdated buildings, you know, more insulation, but, you know, lighting, you know, there's tons of different ways that you can increase your energy efficiency. And they even have, you can get contractors that they supply that can come in and give you the audit, and contractors to give you prices and bid it out. But I just think these are all related actions to not only green and save energy efficiency in our buildings, but also, you know, to, why not as well, get some points for Sustainable Jersey status.
I think that would be good. Now, do you have with you a draft memo that you would like to see introduced? If
I
not- if
don't
not,
currently.
could you bring it to the next meeting? So that, and maybe we talk about it outside of the meeting ahead of time, take off the rough edges, and then we introduce it to the meeting next time?
Sure.
That would be great.
Is that
Yeah,
good?
I'd be happy to. Mhm.
Okay, let's do that. And then we have something to bring up to Ben and the council.
Yeah, that would be really good, Kelly.
Great.
Okay, very fine. Kelly, thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
everyone.
think You're right on the right track. And let's try to keep this issue focused. So if you were to focus this on the DPW building, for example, as a first example, that might, you know, crystallize people's thinking more quickly.
Sure.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think that the police station is likely to be built. It seems like the drawings for the police station are a little bit more firm. So we probably should ask the question for both buildings, because I heard the council say this Monday that they are likely to go to bid with both projects at the same time.
okay. And the
So
police,
that seems to be the intent, to ask, because they think they can get a bigger construction company or bigger construction companies to be in the bidding process if there are two buildings that are being bid.
Lalini, does that also include the proposal for that rec center?
No, I think what came out on this Monday discussion on the council was that for now, they passed a bond ordinance. And what's envisioned there is the DPW, the police building, and renovations to Bicentennial Hall. So I think, just to Ralph's point, if we want to be focused, I think the thought process should be, we should be looking at that for any new construction by the borough, but very specifically, since the plans are moving forward with the police station and the DPW, we really should make sure that those discussions are taking place with the architects, even if we don't install the panels at this point, but we make sure that we have roofs that can support those panels if we are to do that at some point in the future. But my understanding is that the financing has gotten to a point that you can work with third-party financiers that should enable this type of approach to be actually pretty cost-effective. So those are things to look at, but soon, while
Good.
they are planning, while they are designing this stuff.
Okay, well, noodle your way through this motion, so that it's nice and clean and says exactly what we want to do, what the council, we want the council to do, and assessment of the approach at the beginning is certainly an important part of that motion. Okay, any other comments on the topic? Okay, I think your green team is making some nice progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, guys.
And you can stay on, Kelly, if you wish. It'd be fun. Okay. So having done that, the next item is the LED street lights. This has run into an amazing roadblock. And there's a stream of emails going back and forth over the last week. Teresa's been brought into it, and I think she may bring Ben into it. We were just told that at a date that's currently unknown, but early next year, Jersey Central Power and Light will be introducing new proposed tariffs to streetlights. And Frank Luna, who is the regional manager for that includes our area, indicated they don't want to go ahead with a streetlight program that I thought, and actually he thought, was frozen in place and agreed to. They don't want to go ahead with it until they find out how they interact with the new tariffs. I'm going to be talking to Teresa next week. Teresa's going to be in on Monday. Do you know, Jennifer?
Yes, I believe she will, but maybe just for a half day.
Okay. Could you ask her to give me a ring
Certainly.
Monday morning? Yeah, at her convenience. I should be home. We need to iron this out. I'd like to see this proceed very quickly, and I'd like to see these streetlights put in, and certainly not suddenly have a high cost associated with it. In passing, the streetlight business is the least profitable of Jersey Central's product lines. That's only true, I suspect, if you do the arithmetic correctly. So I'm a little bit more than peeved by the whole thing at this point, but we're going to continue pressing. Okay. Moving ahead from there, let's see. We have the what I started with before, the Navasink River. Jesse, is there anything new there that we should be knowing?
I don't have any updates.
No, I talked to Brian. I didn't get any new information particularly. They've stopped taking some of the measurements that they were taking, presumably for the winter. I actually walked out on the dock again, and looked at it. You can look right through the water to the river's bottom. You know, it's rare that you can do that. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, and interestingly enough, and just related area, our front lawn right now has 2 fish that the seagulls brought up over the house and into the front lawn, and were having breakfast on, and then left the remains there. Amazing. Okay. Moving on from seawater. The next item on the agenda is the, well, I'm trying to read it.
Recycling. Town recycling.
Right, town recycling, okay. And let's see, Gary and Mike. Who's gonna be the spokesman on this topic? Anybody want to speak to it?
I guess I'll just make the comment that it was a shame that, Ralph, we had to cancel our visit to Mazda. I hope that we are able to pick up on that again now in
I ha-
2021.
I'm calling them right after the first of the year.
Yeah, I think there are at least a couple people from the green team who are interested in making that visit to the recycling center. I would like to have Kelly Flanagan come along.
Well, let me put it this way. I wanted Mike McHugh to come because Mike was on the council. And Mike was gonna bring two other council council members. And he had to back out for whatever reasons, but he had to back out of it last minute. I didn't feel that two people going there without council representation was a smart move. So you are now elected to a council in January. It would be very fine if you can go. I'd like to have Kelly, like to have all that you want, up to about 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, I think we should definitely try to reschedule that, Ralph. There's a lot of interest on the green team in working with recycling issues and waste reduction issues. And there were a lot of questions asked about recycling. I think the same issues that we have been discussing at the environmental commission level have come up at the green team level in terms of people in town are not 100% clear on what they're supposed to be recycling. And I guess we are not clear what we're supposed to be recycling now that Mazda has increased capabilities. So
Right.
yeah, so that's something that definitely think we should pick up again on just being, aware of the pandemic. I guess I'd like to know if the proposed meeting is going to be outdoors and if we're going to be touring outside and staying outside. That might influence when and how soon we can go visit. I'll try to prefer and to avoid any indoor type discussions.
Do you have a problem with indoor discussions? Because I don't think we're gonna have very serious discussions out in January outside.
Well, I think that's what we want to know. I think we probably should avoid indoor discussions right now. So it would probably be better. Maybe we could do a combination of touring the area and having a brief discussion outside and then following it up with a Zoom session. That might be the safest choice if we are to meet them in the next couple months.
Okay,
That's something we can discuss offline.
I don't want to put this off beyond January because we ought to be taking advantage of these new features. And so I would rather have the meeting in January if at all possible. My guess is at least part of it will be indoors, but I'll request that we're able to sit 6 feet apart in a large meeting room. And
that might still not be safe. So let's first figure out who wants to go and maybe to call the lady there again and talk to her. But I would ask those questions
okay.
as we discuss, the form. I think we should discuss the format and what exactly we will do and what's indoors and what's outdoors. I think that's very important that we have that discussion.
Okay, I will. I plan to do that the first week of January, which is when she asked I get back to her.
Okay.
I felt badly about canceling it, but she understood. Okay. Moving ahead from the recycling, and I think that's our biggest break there will be to take advantage of the new capabilities. Moving ahead from that, we have item E, which is
The brush grinding operation.
brush grinding operation. I honestly am not sure we should be getting into this as opposed to the council and a subcommittee of the council. The issues are heavily political right now, and those are going to surface to the top. That is not our meter. Are there any, let me hear other opinions. Feel free to take a different opinion.
I agree with you, Ralph.
Okay, is that Greg?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Does anybody else want to see this on the agenda at this point? let's see, we had, we had Jonathan. I'll tell you what, keep it on the agenda until, for next time only, okay? Jesse, and meanwhile, I will give John a call and see if he really wants this to be the place for that discussion. I know he knows a lot about it, and I know he's a mentor.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay, very good. Okay, is there any other business that we should be discussing? Any new business?
Not other than, this is my last meeting as a member of the Environmental Commission, at least as a member.
Now, I have discussed with some members of the board, and I would like your inputs. We would like to recruit a person who has deep interest in this area and some understanding of the issues and an ability and desire to work on these issues to replace Lalini. And there obviously should be some on the green team who would be candidates, and that's a perfect stepping stone in, but there may be others. If any of you have candidates in mind that you know that you think would be meeting those qualifications, please bring them to my attention. I'll be giving, after the first of the year, I'll be talking with Ben about this. And I'm not sure from past experience that Ben would consider me the only source for these nominations. He seems to have a lot of his own, but I think we can have influence there. And I think it's important that we at least talk about with Ben, talk about the qualifications required. So I'll look for any of you to give me a call or drop me an email, and we can talk about it if you have a candidate. Okay,
I had a question.
yes,
If Lalini's dropping off because she's becoming a council member, she can still be on the green team, right?
oh, yeah,
yes.
yeah,
The
yes.
Green team is not necessarily affected, but I'm not allowed to be a member of the Environmental Commission. I would have to come back in a different form if that were to be the case. But the green
But-
team, I can still be there.
By the way, you are, I don't think there's any rule that says you can't be. It could be the will of the current council or the will of the mayor that it not happen. But you can, I've been on both the planning board and this council for 2 years. You would be in a position of liaison to this council. Now, that you have to talk with John about. He's the current liaison.
Mike, right?
Mike,
Oh, Mike, I'm sorry, Mike, I was thinking last before. Yeah, Mike is the current liaison.
I think that will be resolved soon.
Yeah, I hope it is. Mike has not been able to, and I've talked to him, no secrets. He's not been able to find enough time to join enough meetings. So John used to. So if you would work from your position on the council to get a liaison, preferably you in my thought, to join this committee, that commission, that would be great. Okay. Then no comments because Mike is not here. The public is online. Public's been given a chance to talk. Any comments that you want to make?
Nan Bryan's raised a hand. If we could-
Okay, can we hear her? Who did you say raised her hand?
Nan Bryan.
Nan Bryan, okay.
Yep, here we go.
Guys, oh, hello, man. How are you? You've got to have your speaker on.
Hi. Hello. Can you hear me?
Just perfectly. Thank you.
I am, first of all, thank you all for doing your work. It's the first time I've been to a meeting this meeting, and thank you for your work and protecting the environment. And so I came tonight because I just wanted to share a concern I had. I live on Fourth Creek, a tidal creek here in Fairhaven.
By the way, we know it well, and several of us have walked it end to end more than once.
Very good. So all I really want to say is that I have concern over two different building projects that have happened in the last 5 months. And they're both residents on Baton Road, and I looked directly at them, and I've watched two bulldozers on the coastal bluff dig up a large amount of the bluff. I also, about a month ago, watched a 3-tiered terrace being built. So I share my concern with you. I did call Fairhaven to find out whether each resident had permits, and I found out they did not. I did call the DEP, and I reported both of the properties. So I'm calling. I mean, I want to just have you hear my story because I'm not sure that the zoning board, the building board kind of heard my concerns, and I was kind of pushed away in a sense, basically saying that my only real right was to call the DEP, and that I didn't really have, other than that, I didn't really have any business.
Well, wait a second now. I think if I were in your position, I would, since they don't have a permit, the permit is, usually attorneys. I get a lot of these permits, and they're requested by the attorneys for the plaintiffs. But I think that you can request a stop work order if they don't have any permits. I'm sure you can, and probably, and you should.
Well, I feel a little uncomfortable doing that because I feel as if I've done my job. I've been a witness. I tried to share my concern with the Fairhaven Building Department, and I did call the DEP. Other than that, to be completely honest, I'm a little bit nervous about, I haven't gotten a lot of support from my neighbors and so I don't think I want to do any more except tell you my story. So perhaps, you could just be aware of this. And I don't want to be the one to make a stop order because I'm already not liked by my neighbors. So I don't want to put myself in that position, to be completely honest.
Okay, I understand that. Would you like to give me a call privately? Because I'd like to know the property numbers. I'd like to, I don't drive, I have a tricycle. It's made it all around town. Got almost 150 miles on it now since September.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great. Just to let you know, I have had the same concerns. There have been a number of unpermitted fillings in excess of the amount that requires a permit within the town. And I also reported it to the compliance officer and was told to call the DEP. Just for the other members of the commission, the amount of dirt that you move that requires a permit is about 2.5. So it's less than about 2.5 dump trucks. Then you can do it without a permit.
It's 20 yards, right?
I think it's actually, Ralph, I think it's in terms of weight now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, but it's not that much. And so there have been, people who just do it and, it's done. I mean, the principal concern really is, this area next to the river, because there's a great, people pay a premium for the river land, for the adjacency to the river. And, over time, people will start making, wanting to make more land there and doing it by filling.
Oh, yeah.
This is very valuable.
Well, listen, the reason I asked for and I'm glad you support it too, and are interested here, Greg. The reason I asked for Nancy for you to give me a call is I would go out there and assess it myself. And if I felt that it was necessary, I would call for a stop work order.
May I just ask a couple questions?
Sure.
Greg, who is the compliance officer that would be dealing with this, or Nan, could one of you say who would be the compliance officer who's directing people to the DEP?
I think, well, not the DEP. There is a compliance officer in Fairhaven. Nick has those responsibilities, right, Jennifer?
Is it Nick Porochitsky?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I emailed him, and I CC'd Jen Johnson and Joe, can't remember his last name, but yeah, Ralph, I will accept your invitation. I'll call you. What is your number?
732-219-0005.
Okay.
And can I also ask what, I'm just trying to understand, there's nothing in our processes locally that would protect the town from someone filling in on the waterways in town?
I don't think there's from the law. I don't know where that law would be.
Well, I know there is a law because my boyfriend is a landscape architect and he has been on a number of building zoning cases, and he can test. He showed me in the Fairhaven laws, there is a law that says you may not build on a steep slope. And
oh, that's true. That's true.
and I know for a fact that these two properties are considered steep slopes because I live on one. I live on steep slopes. So so that's my big concern. The question to Fairhaven is, if you have a law, why isn't it being held up?
Well, are they actually building on the slope?
Well, that was what I was trying to ask, the Fairhaven building team to just go out and at least check for me. And that was not very well received.
I'll be happy to do that. Basically, you're supposed to be in any new building sites on the water, and I know we live on the water. You're supposed to be 150 feet back. 300 is the law. 150 is an automatic variance that's given. And anything between 150 and 0 from the mean high tide water mark is subject to serious review, both in town and by the DEP. So the only exception is largely building on a former footprint of a building if you demolish a building. So I don't know what they're doing, but I'd like to see what they're doing.
When you guys call the DEP, do you just call the hotline number? Or what do you?
Yes, that's what I did.
I would call like land use directly. Those guys are pretty. They're pretty bulldoggy. I can't imagine that they would not come out and do something. I don't know where the hotline number would go to. If you call land use directly, they have an emergency number too.
I mean, it depends. I mean, I lived in Little Silver on a property that faced a protected green acres in Little Silver. And two neighbors down, they clear cut everything all the way to as far as they could go into those green acres and built pretty much a party area with sound system and stuff like that. And I called at the time Little Silver multiple times, the Borough. Nothing was ever done. Eventually, someone showed up there. I told them to stop. At that point, they had destroyed. It was quite a bit later. So at that point, everything had been destroyed. All the trees and the bushes had all been taken down and completely clear cut behind that particular property. I mean, I eventually moved away a year later, but this was 20 some years ago. I remember, you know, the frustration of watching that every day being done. You know, by the point you catch it, it's too late.
The perpetrators work a lot faster than any of the government agencies, unfortunately. And for now, let's leave it. I'd like to see the numbers of the properties. I take it they're down at the end of Baton Road, or somewhere's down near there where the boatyard is, and what is the club down there that has property in a dock?
River Rats.
River Rats, yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, I think it's close to the River Rats area. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I normally, I used to go down there regularly, so, okay, I'll make a point of going over there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you listening to my little story. Thanks.
You're very welcome. Send me any of the details or an email. Email might be better. The email Ralph@windrum.com. Couldn't be easier.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get, okay, Ralph@windrum.com. Okay, thank
Exactly.
you, Ralph. I will email you.
Okay, thanks so much. Bye now.
Bye-bye, thanks.
You're welcome. Any other new or public business? Any other business at all? Okay, well, stay safe, stay warm, and storm should be over tomorrow by noon. Get out and shovel or snowplow and enjoy. Okay, motion to adjourn then, I think is in order.
So moved.
All in favor, all opposed? All opposed, none opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll
Have a
see
good
y'all.
holiday.
Thank
Have a
you.
lovely holiday and happy new year, and God knows the new year be better than this year. That's for sure.
Definitely.
Okay, bye now.
Bye. Thank you.
See y'all.